So I know you've all heard that phrase, appreciate the small things in life. Now, I myself, I really didn't understand this concept, right? Like, there was a time in my life where I heard it many times, and especially like at a young age, and I didn't really understand. I was like, what do you mean? I'm enjoying life. Isn't that appreciating life? And it wasn't until the past real couple years, that stuff like this really sinks in. You get to that old age where you're like, man, that doesn't make sense, right? It just clicks all of a sudden. And this being one of them, right? This being one of those things, those thoughts, those ideas about why appreciating the small things really matter. Now, I myself, I think we all get to a point in our life where I think we become fixated on this idea that material objects or a person, any kind of object outside of ourselves, right? We want to obtain these things, right? And they provide like value for us. And so I think we tend to, have this idea in our mind that these things, the more things we can accumulate, the better off we are in life. And I think we get, really mixed up with a bunch of different, things in social media, in advertising, and all these other different things, trying to show that life, right? Like, if you have this thing, your life is going to get so much better. And so that kind of just gets, ingrained in our subconscious, and we feel that we have to obtain these objects, right? These objects that we think have value in them. And so we essentially come to this point to where we are chasing these things, right? We're chasing that lifestyle, we're chasing these specific objects, and it becomes like a drug, right? Like you want to go chase these things, and you kind of get addicted to that high, right? Accumulating new valuable things. And I think this is where a lot of us, we get trapped in that. And you buy that new thing, and then you go off and buy another new thing, and then that new thing is now an old thing, so now you need something new to replace it. And we're constantly getting in this process, right? Again, about that new high, about buying that new thing, buying that new car. And a lot of people buy new cars, like every, what is it, 3 years, 4 years, something like that. And again, we use the value in the little things in life. And I think the biggest thing is if you can take away that, right? Take away the objects, that the objects have value. Assume objects have no value, right? Assume that relationship, yes, it has value, but you don't need that, right? You don't need that relationship to survive, to be happy, right? I'm just simply stating that it's not the relationship. Yes, relationships do matter, but we need to look at a different perspective. And I think this is the biggest thing when you're trying to appreciate the small things in life, right? And this is just understanding that there are other people out there that don't live to a lot of our standards. And what I mean by our standards is, the American way, right? We're used to a specific lifestyle. And you go to third world countries and people have their specific lifestyle. And so they know the value of just, relationships, the value of just, a roof over your head and, clean water to drink, right? Not all people do know the value of clean water, but they understand that, it's one of those things that us as Americans take for granted. Unless you've been in one of these third world countries and see firsthand how a lot of people act, you see that objects hold no value for them, right? It's about the bare necessities, right? The fact that there is more to life than some object, and that we need to understand this and try to incorporate this in our life and, essentially put that switch, right? Put that filter in our head that allows us to see that objects really don't hold no value. And you notice this if you have a house or some kind of valuables that, perhaps there was a fire, some kind of accident or something, and all that stuff burns away. You have nothing to show for it, right? That object is gone, essentially, right now. Yes, you can get insurance and hopefully try to, obtain some of those objects if, you see value in it. But they're just material things. Like, they don't really hold value. Now just imagine looking back on your life, right? You've come to an old age and you're reflecting on your life. And so do you really go back and think about all those things that you had? Or does it more relate to the relationships you had, or possibly, the places you went, right? Or perhaps the different things that you were exposed to in life. Or perhaps it was the experiences that you had throughout life, right? Those, I believe, are what the little things are, right? Those essentially, we essentially push those under the rug, right? And understand that we have come to this point where we look at objects as being valuable, and we lose sense of those smaller things that really mean more to us. And a lot of times we don't really understand that unless you get older, and again are reflecting back on your life. But one thing to really consider here is you really reflect on that, especially like if you had someone close to you in your life that had passed, and you start really seeing value in different things, right? Where before you may have been caught up in the objects, right? Obtaining those objects, where now it's more you focus on the things that matter, right? Not things that you have perceived value. It's more on those things that matter to you, right? Again, like the relationships, again, like, going out and exploring, different opportunities that you've always been interested in, and experiences that you go through, because you realize that the experiences are what have, more value than gold, because you will always cherish those memories, right? Memories are something that truly hold value, and these are the small things that we tend to forget, because again, we're so caught up in this object, trying to obtain objects as much as possible. And so this is just a perspective I wanted you guys to really think about in your life, and start looking at those small things that do matter, and realizing that those relationships, perhaps you're working a ridiculous amount of hours, and you're neglecting perhaps the relationship with your kids, or you're neglecting that relationship with your parents, and you don't really realize these things until the time is taken away, right? Because you're so caught up in trying to obtain objects that, again, you lose track of these little things that really do matter. When it comes to that time when you start reflecting on life a lot more, you start to see the value in those little things. And they're really only considered little things because I think, as far as their priority in our heads, I think that's why they are the little things, right? When in fact they're actually bigger things. But I think we have that thought process reversed, right? Again, because I think we're so caught up in the chase of obtaining these objects that again have value that really doesn't mean anything at the end of the day. So for you guys out there that are trying to appreciate the little things and wondering how exactly you can do that, is to change your perspective on that. Again, look at that. Look at what in your life really matters. If all the objects were removed from your possession, all the ones that you had, all the ones that you worked so hard to achieve, right? Just imagine if all that stuff, for whatever reason, that stuff went up in flames. What would you do then, right? It comes down to your relationships. It comes down to, just life. Having the bare essentials, knowing that, the ones that you love are okay, and they're loved and they're good, and that you're okay, you're loved and you're good and you're healthy, and those kind of little things are what really matters. Those memories, those experiences, those are the small things that you want, right? Those are the small things that you want to be able to cherish for the rest of your life, something that somebody cannot take away. So if you enjoyed this video, remember to hit the like button, and until next time, I will see you guys later.